Welcome back to SledgeHammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Today, I am joined by the amazing Alex Noyer. How you doing today, man?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no, I'm so honored to have you. A little bit of a background about Alex. He was raised in a Finnish and French art and media family. He studied advertising in London, where in 2004 he founded an innovative creative production agency at the forefront of video content strategies for international brands. And then in 2008, Films started when Noyer decided to expand his production towards storytelling. Now, what made you want to kind of make that move towards storytelling?
Well, the first incline was because I grew up with artists, and I got the opportunity to have a conversation with a very notorious artist, Julian Schnabel, and I took that opportunity and turned it into a short documentary, and that's it. That was like the moment where I'm like, wow, producing our own stuff is much more fun than doing it for other people. So it just like got me there. So documentaries after that till 20 the last big documentary was 808, the music documentary that really took us to the peak of our documentary stream. And then after that, horror movies from 2017 onwards.
Yeah, and I was gonna say a conversation with Julian Schnabel. It was like kind of your first big thing, but TR-808, the drum machine. Phil Collins, the Beastie Boys, Pharrell, Diplo, New Order, Fatboy Slim, Questlove, Rick Rubin, all these people, and you did the documentary on it. Now, did you get to talk to any of these people that had used it, or was it just mainly about the machine?
All the ones you mentioned are in the film.
That's so rad, man.
It was like a pinch me moment almost.
Oh, for sure. Like, I grew up a huge punk rock kid, man, but I've always loved the Beastie Boys. Like, the Beastie Boys have always been so dope to me. Then obviously Phil Collins, huge. Pharrell, huge. And another thing is we were talking about Conductor, and as well as Sound of Violence, the feature version of it. It premiered at South by Southwest in 2021 and broadly seen as one of the Fest's hits. So when can we expect, is there a physical release of that, or is it streaming anywhere yet?
It's in the US, it's already out on Showtime and all the digital platforms. There's no physical release right now in the US. You can get some, I think, maybe some DVDs. I think Gravitas might have released some, but nothing like really. Whereas in the UK, we are on Sky and VOD and also have physical release there. But yeah, it depends on the market. Some places they really attach importance to physical release, and but in the US at the moment, mostly streaming on Showtime and then anywhere you rent or buy films.
Well, the Sound of Violence is what we're talking about, and you don't have to go far looking for it, because much like Alex's social media links, I do have some of the streaming links right down here in the description. So not only make sure you're checking out the film, but make sure that you are following Alex on social media so you can stay up to date on everything that he's up to. So do you have anything coming up in the pipeline that you could talk about, or is everything kind of just play it by ear under wraps at the moment?
Well, one thing that I can talk about is I'm one of the producers on this new horror anthology that came out of Clubhouse. We recruited writers out of Clubhouse. It was a big competition. We received about 700 short scripts, and it dwindled down to 10 stories. And we're gonna have some cool announcements related to that now. But yeah, I'm producing that, and it's been a lot of fun being a judge and as well a mentor to some of them, trying to help them to optimize their stories. And we unearthed some unbelievable storytellers. So that's on my producing side. And on my directing side, I'm working on a feature film that taps into my Nordic roots and stories that are kind of Nordic inspired altogether. And so that's we hope to have some announcement coming up for that along with it. There's a whole bunch of things in the works. It's kind of it's always trying to just. But like these two are kind of the forefront of where we are producing that anthology, and then that Nordic inspired horror movie.
Well, like I said, you guys don't have to wait for me to update you. You can follow the links right down here on social media, and as soon as they have any updates, I promise I'll be giving that as well. I'm very excited to see where that goes. I'd like to see a Nordic horror movie that you're directing. I think that'd be a whole lot of fun.
Thank you.
But now that we are stumbling into the aspect of horror, you are doing horror now, but horror had to start for you someplace, sometime, Alex. So I want to go back to the past and talk about how horror started for you, my friend, your first horror movie. And Alex, the first horror movie you watched was
Night of the Living Dead, 1968, George A. Romero.
What an amazing film. What an amazing start to your horror life. So do you remember how old you were the first time you had seen it?
I was 9. I was 9. I grew up in France, so obviously TV doesn't have limitations in many ways in France. So I literally watched it on a Wednesday afternoon. School's out. I was at home, turned on the TV. Actually, here's a funny story. My mother had found this device that would allow her, it was a key, to cut the power to the TV. And then she would hide the key. I would always find it. So she would be at the office. I would find the key, turn on the TV, and then just binge whatever was on it. And yeah, Night of the Living Dead was on it. And it starts, with that very creepy sort of drive-in, with a sort of very creepy soundtrack. And I was like, ooh, what is this? I had never seen a horror movie before. I had no idea. All I just heard was sounds, like this music that told me something creepy is going on, whereas the image was just a car driving. So I just kept watching, right. and then the title came on, and then I was like, okay, this you got my attention, and
yeah,
and then it was like, I mean, a 90-something minute ride of just like my eyes being open like that, just going, God, what is this?
Yeah. And what I love about this is right at the beginning of this movie, you get one of the most iconic lines that people still say today,
they're coming to get you, Barbara.
Like,
yep.
I love that, and even Shaun of the Dead. They named Sean's mom Barbara, and the part where Ed's out and Sean's on the phone with his mom, and then Ed grabs the phone and he's like, "We're coming to get you, Barbara." Like, that to me is just pure genius and such an honor to Mr. Romero. Now, do you remember there's a lot of scenes in this movie that are so heavy, especially for a child. Do you remember which scene it was, Alex, that affected you the most?
I mean, I every moment of practical effects that sort of like that kind of appeared really kind of, again, I had never seen this before. So, even early on, the moment just when she walks up the stairs and sees the decaying body there, and just, but for me, the scene is after the petrol station kerfuffle, when the car burns and the zombies come and tear, limbs and guts apart. I just love that scene because it just, again, I was 9. I had no idea what I was not prepared for it. I had no idea. I was no intent to watch it. I was just like, this is cool. And I was, maybe the good thing about being born in 1980 is that I was born without the limitations of being told what to watch or what not to watch, especially in France. So I was like, okay. And I watched this, and it's funny because even though it's in black and white, and it has this sense of like, yeah, you sense the blood. You don't even see it, like, you don't see the red, but you see it. And even no matter how, I had no idea, but I watched this, and okay, yes, I wisened up to how they did it and what they were really munching on. But back then, I had no idea. As far as I'm concerned, these were limbs, and it just looked so cool. It just, you don't, when you're that young and you watch this, you don't question it. You just, it's fiction, and I was not really easy to scare, but I was just like, I mean, it's funny because I was recently interviewed for the mental health and horror documentary, and I was said that, like, I wish I could relive that moment. I wish I could sit with me now, sat next to my 9-year-old self, watching this again, just so I could see what my reactions were, because I don't remember how I reacted to everything, but I remember those moments, and I remember that petrol station accident scene as one of the, it was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Right. And like you said, you have these zombies that are eating, and it's not just one zombie. You have, the little montage of all the other zombies that are eating everything there. And like I said, you just had the gas station blow up. Like, it's such an iconic part of the movie. Now, we know that at 9 years old, that's the scene that affected young Alex the most. But what would you say your favorite scene from Night of the Living Dead is?
My favorite scene. That's like when the little girl comes back and takes the painting palette to her mother. I had no animosity towards my parents, but I have to say that was so cool. That's why just like when I saw the poster behind you, I was like, this is such a cool moment. And just like it's such
vindication.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's like you want her to do this to her dad, but she does it to her mom, and her mom,
right.
We like her. We like the mom. The mom is cool. She's a cool mom. She's always trying to be on the right side of what's going on, and yeah. But it's just you see it. What I love about this is as well how well built it is. They really don't really tell you anything about her bite till just before that, and so again, you look at it with years and years of watching zombie movies. You're like, that kid being laying on that table, what's going on. You're 9 years old. You don't even know what zombies are really, apart from cartoons and mummies. You're just like, you have no idea. So when that kid just comes back homicidal, it just like, I was like, it just like, and it's very bloody actually. And again, this is, I mean, the fact is this movie is so ahead of its time on both on the storytelling, the foreshadowing, the beats, the stuff that it was like, okay, this is years later that I understood that, but just every moment is so well sort of orchestrated, and the effects are cool because again, in black and white, you perhaps it's like, how do you go beyond the information that colors would have given you, and it's so well done. And it's funny because you look, this afternoon I just delved into some of the critics of the time, and it's funny how they're talking about it at this trashy Camp Gore thing, and I'm just like, I'm compared to things that you see in critics today sometimes, and I'm like, it's funny. It's kind of a foreshadowing of horror culture anyway going forward. So altogether, it's such an immersive experience that is genuinely one of the most important horror movies of all time, and certainly my favorite.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing that you just brought up that I want to talk about, how ahead of its time it was. This is 1968, and you have a black man saving a blonde woman, and like they got shit for that. And Romero was like, I'm not trying to start a revolution. I chose the best actor. Dwayne was the best actor, period. Point blank.
He's amazing.
Period. He's the best actor. So that's what I love about this movie. How ahead of its time it was in both kills, in both, not just kills, but with the storytelling, the effects, everything is just phenomenal in this movie. It's up there as one of my favorite horror movies. Yeah,
the structure of the movie is a template that still would apply today in terms of like the way it starts quickly, the way it's broken into, like the 3-act structure is very clear. It's very matured, and it's crazy because again, this was a very sort of early time in some of the horror movies that we modernized, and it was so modern, and it's the interesting thing is that like on Sound of Violence, and many and I'm not the only one, but on Sound of Violence, one technique I've used, which is the silent take, so no lines, and you go ahead through the enactment of terror without lines, so that you really rely on your actors. And if you took at the very first few sequences of the film, when she's running and when she arrives into this is one giant silent take, and it's just pushing her. And it's just like, it's funny because like there's actually a funny moments when she goes to the phone, right? She the Foley team clearly made the noise of the phone, but you see her mouth moving, but you don't hear anything, and it doesn't matter. And this is what I really like about this opening sequence, is that it's not rushed, even though it's frantic. And it's just like, I mean, George Romero is one of the geniuses of filmmaking, and I know that like the in the grand scheme of things, people do not realize everything is achieved. But just like when I'm saying that horror filmmakers are mad scientists, oh man, he was, and just with this movie, he created a template that still today challenges filmmakers to create tension, both in the way things are shot and how long shots are held and editing. And it's just like, and again, with the techniques of the time. So yeah, I could ramble on for that.
No, I love it. Because this is, like I said, this is a movie that I adore. And one good thing about this movie too is it does have quality kills. It's not, you don't really have much meat bag in the movie. And I hate saying favorites. That's really weird. But what kill would you say is your favorite, or the one that stuck with you the most from Night of the Living Dead?
I'm going to flip your question because the kills are, as you said, they're so cool, all of them. And I'm going to say my least favorite one is the fact that the girlfriend runs into the truck and they get killed together. I felt what a wasted opportunity to have a two kill system of him, because she's so desperate, she's so worried about him. When he drives up, everything happens, and everything would have happened, and then the thing blows up, and then she runs out and gets, you kind of like feel that there was that little moment of, but I mean, who am I to give notes on this? I mean, like, shut your mouth, Noyer. But I think that the favorite kill, as I said, is is definitely the one with the pen painting thing, and it's just the creepy kid always wins.
Oh yeah. And see, I think what I love about this movie is how truly dark, like, because my favorite kill will always be the ending. It's truly dark. Like, you think that it's over, you think he's okay, he comes out, he walks out, it's okay, and then he gets shot while he's in the house, and it's just like, he made it. Like, he made it, he was fine, and they shot him anyway. Like, son of a bitch.
What? I was angry at that moment. I was 9 years old. I had no idea about the messaging. I had no idea about everything. I was 9, and I was just like, I was like, I remember distinctly that moment going like, no, or it was, being a French kid, it was more like no, but it just like, it's the idea of like, of just and this is one thing which is important for me in zombie movies, and I think that is the Romero school, is that it has already begun before the movie begun. It has, like, you don't have time to catch up with the events, right? You're getting caught into it, and then there's no happy ending because of the apocalypse. Now, the difference between Night of the Living Dead is that they're seemingly getting it under control, but and it's a condemnation of the sort of shooting kill treatments of conflict. But I would say that, like, if you look at all the way to Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead remake, where he goes with that model of arriving, she's driving away from her shift, but by the time she wakes up, like, we already heard all the clues that's already going on. And then there's, I just feel that this template of the notion of apocalypse that he explores much more in Dawn of the Dead. He's Dawn of the Dead in Romero's Dawn of the Dead. I feel that there's just, it's like he always had it figured out. Yeah. And it's crazy considering how early that was versus the time that then gets you to Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, and such. It just, like, it feels that very consistent about that approach of the apocalypse, and I find that fascinating.
Right. And they even, Tom Savini had his hand in remaking Night of the Living Dead in 1990. Have you seen the 90 remake, and what are your thoughts on that one?
It was a tough watch for me, and I adore Tony Todd. It just because of everything that it meant to me. That it's not a bad movie. There's no, as I said, there's many things that can be. They changed the ending, obviously. They changed many things in the notion of things. I think it's its own film. Mm-hmm. It's its own film. I remember watching it and being, I think I was like, maybe 4 years after watching Night of the original that I watched that one, because so it was like late 89 that or early 90 that I saw Night of the Living Dead, and Yeah, I don't think I got around to watching, obviously, because it's not like we had streamers and stuff. And I was like, I became like an aficionado of all. I mean, I loved renting tapes all the time, but then I was just renting horror movies. And it's funny how when it became available, I didn't lean towards it, because for me, I just didn't see the necessity of a remake when you have
Right.
such a pillar of horror history. And it was not over intellectualizing and stuff. And then I saw it when I saw it on cable, and I just, I watched it, and again, I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it at all. I think it has many things going for it. Obviously, in effects and stuff, it was and the performance of Tony Todd, but yeah, I'm a hardcore of the original. I find it just so important.
I'm a big fan of the remake as well. As much as I am the original, I don't know about as much, but I love what they did with Barbara's character. I love what Patricia Tallman did. I'm not a fan of the ending of the remake. I don't like that he didn't survive it, but now
yeah, but you have to think about contextually when you're in 1968 shooting that. The contextual, the elevation of the debate that Romero was bringing up with that debate with that ending in 1968 was a topic, just like when he defended his decision to cast him. It was, he was living in a society that had the prejudice like everywhere, like nobody had wisened up yet, and certainly in 1990 it was nowhere near where it should have been, but it was a different conversation. Mm-hmm. And the notion of the depiction of shoot first, ask question later in 1968 was the message that Romero had there, and
right.
Like everything he did, it was the whole movie obviously relates to the Cold War, it relates to all those things, but that ending is him having his say. Just like when he gets asked a question and defends his casting decisions, it's just like it was in the moment, right? And I think in 1990, I don't think that ending was would have carried the same weight. It would have carried more the controversy than the weight of the importance of it, because in 68, it's a conversation that Romero wanted to have. Whereas and it needed to be had because it was important to have it, and defending that, and because there's this phase. I saw a few conversation where they said, there's this depiction of those armed guys who will go and shoot. It's like, no, this is not a glorification. These guys are not heroes. Seems to get the thing under control. But that last scene is to just say, remember, they're not hero. They're just shooting at things. They're shooting at everything. They're not. It's a condemnation of the American foreign policy on that, and it was a condemnation of the social justice issue, and it was condemnation. All this in that little moment, that few seconds that are so important in history, and very representative of what Romero always tried to do with his movies. No matter how, offbeat the narrative sounds, there was always a message. I mean, Dawn of the Dead is a condemnation of consumerism mixed with plenty of political messages, and so the engagement that you had at the time, I don't think that a different director, obviously in 1990, Tom Savini was carrying the same intention as the Romero in 68.
And I can see that too. And so, Alex, we know what your first horror movie was, being Night of the Living Dead, and what that movie means to you. But now I want to go scream on you here for a second. What's your favorite scary movie, Alex? What is your favorite horror movie of all time?
Sound of Violence. No, I'm kidding. I'm not gonna say no. My favorite. So it's a very tricky conversation because it goes down to the definition of what is a horror movie. But I will stand by my favorite movie of all time, all genre included, and I do think it does cover a fair bit of horror. Is A Clockwork Orange.
Oh yeah, that's definitely got horror elements to it, 100%.
But because it has this sort of slight sci-fi angle and it's thrillers and stuff. It's so many things at once. Same thing with in my top 5 of all time. Again, all genre considered, there's Battle Royale, and Battle Royale is a very sort of genre bending kind of thing. But for me, it's a horror movie. But
sure.
Again, so no, it's not. Yes, it is. But that aside, it's just like I will absolutely give a special mention to 2 films. One, which is the second horror movie I saw, which on the back of seeing Night of the Living Dead was exactly what I needed to do to understand the creative energy of horror as well, was Evil Dead. It was, you watch something that already is incredible in staging, storytelling, everything, and it's just so, and then you watch Evil Dead and you're like, oh, so you can also go nuts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, buckle me. It's like, buckle me in. Let's go into warp speed. And now I couldn't watch. I watched everything after that. And the other movie I absolutely need to mention is my all-time guilty pleasure, even though I don't think there's such a thing as a guilty pleasure, because I certainly don't feel guilty about it. But I have an absolute soft spot for Chopping Mall.
Oh, nice.
Chopping Mall is, it's just so fun. It's so much fun, and I just and I got the privilege of meeting Kelly and Barbara, and I don't think I'm pretty sure they figured out how much I love this movie. Also, there's a massive Easter egg in Sound of Violence, and a Chopping Mall Easter egg that I believe. So in all the festivals we did, it was at Fright Fest in London that finally somebody found it.
That's awesome. I'm gonna pay attention for it then.
It's well hidden, but it's a good one.
Awesome. Well, man, and I do want to thank you so much for taking your time out to come here and talk horror with us for a little bit. Now, we always end this with the same question, Alex. We're gonna go back to Night of the Living Dead 68, and what we're gonna do now is rank this on a skull count. Now, we're not being critics. We're not judging it on production, acting, score, direction, nothing like that. What we're doing is ranking this movie strictly on how much it affected you. So 0 skulls being not effective, 5 being very effective. You can use half and quarter skulls anywhere in the middle. What would your ranking of Night of the Living Dead be?
I mean, I have to say 5. I have to because I'm it's just like, no matter how much, just like, oh, is any movie perfect? It's not about that, as you said. It's about the effect on me. The effect on me is it turned me into a horror fan instantly. So, it literally, it's like Spinal Tap turned it to 11. So in this case, 5 skulls. It's absolutely, without a doubt. And again, I still today want kids to see this movie. I'm showing horror movies to my kids, and I'm trying to make that progressively, with my wife telling me what she's not okay with, but my eldest kid has seen Jaws and Gremlins and all that stuff, and actually she really wants to see Night of the Living Dead because she knows what it means to me. So
that's awesome.
I think in a if you're a storyteller, it's a case study. If you are a horror fan, it's a case study. If you want to understand the socio-political power of messaging in horror, it is a case study. And again, this ending is no matter how much debate arose afterwards, it was Romero's statement, and it was important. I feel it's a very important conversation, and it's just a gem of movie history.
I completely agree with you. So I do want to remind everybody, we are at the 3rd act now. The credits are about to roll. So make sure you're following all the social media links that are down here in the description. Alex, don't go anywhere. I got a couple more questions for you. Everybody else, as always, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.